Hey guys, it's Tahira, and today I'm going through my entire physical TBR. So I've seen a few other people do this, and I thought it'd be a fun way to kind of keep tabs on like what books are still my physical TBR. Also because I do have a physical list, but it's slowly like gotten to the point where I don't even know if I've tracked like the most recent books that I bought. And so I just want to get like a definitive status of what my physical TBR is. So for me, my entire physical TBR is pretty much in this cart right here. I do have some books also that I bought on my most recent trip to California that I left back there because I don't have space on this cart anymore. As you can see, books are starting to overflow a little bit, and I need to get a handle on the situation so that it doesn't get too much out of control. So some of these are actually rereads. So like for example, I have Ninth House on here because the actual book is Hellbent. I've read this one, but I wanted to reread it. So yes, both Ninth House and Hellbent are on my physical TBR. This is a book that like I don't know when I'll get to because these are both like pretty long fantasy books, but it's still a series that I really enjoyed when I read it, so I'm excited to get back into it. Then we have Finale, which is the last book in the Caraval series. I really need to get to this because I recently reread both Caraval and Legendary specifically so that I could read this. And I've already read those two. I need to get to this stat, and I don't know why I'm just like putting it off. I just do that a lot with books, like books that I really want to read, I'll still put off for some reason. Then we have A Throne of the Fallen by Carrie Maniscalco. This is her like new fantasy romance series that she's been doing. I haven't read her before, but I'd heard a lot about this and the concept sounded fun and interesting, so I decided to pick it up. Then we have another reread that I put on here because the actual book is We Free the Stars, but I also put We Hunt the Flame because I want to reread this before I get to the sequel. This is a duology YA fantasy. The author has since come out with other books that are also I've been interested in, but this is the main duology that I want to get through first. Another reread duology series situation, which is The Devil's Thief and The Last Magician by Lisa Maxwell. This book I've read before, but I want to reread before I get to the second book. And I also think this is a trilogy, so there's also a third book, but that's still a while away because I still have to read these two. All of these are already 8 books, and that's just great for me. And then the last book in this top row is, of course, The Ragpicker King by Cassandra Clare. This is her newest book in the Swordcatcher series, and I went to her signing, so this book is actually signed. But I definitely also need to reread Swordcatcher, I feel like, before I read this one, and that one is somewhere else. I don't have it with me, otherwise it would be on this shelf. But yeah, second book, excited for this one. I've heard like really good things about this one. I now have like my mix of fantasy and starting to get into some like romance section. The first one is There Will Come a Darkness by Katie Rose Poole. This one I got because it was on sale on Book Outlet for pretty cheap, and I'd heard about it, sounded interesting, and always like caught my eye description wise. So I decided to pick it up. Obviously still haven't read it. Then we have Dial A for Aunties, which is a mystery, like cozy mystery book, I believe. And again, Book Outlet sale, was pretty cheap. I thought it sounded fun. Then we have The First to Die at the End, which is the sequel to They Both Die at the End by Adam Silvera. Then we have a super short book. I could have read this like in 1 or 2 days if I wanted to, but I just haven't yet, and that is Every Heart a Doorway by Sean McGuire. I've heard a lot about this. This one I think I also got through the Book Outlet sale. But yeah, definitely need to get to this soon. I don't know, I've just been putting it off. Then we have The Final Empire by Brandon Sanderson. This one I'm really excited for. Hope to get to this one this year. This is on my 25 books to read in 2025. And I'm just so excited to get into this. I've heard so much about the Mistborn like series and just his whole universe, but really excited about this one. Then is my sister's book that I'm borrowing, but that is Archer's Voice, which is a not fantasy, it's a romance book that I've heard a lot about, and I think it's about like this mute guy and this girl. I don't know, I've heard like mixed things about this. Some people like it, some people don't. I've heard a lot about it and decided to pick it up, I guess. I don't know why I chose it off my sister's shelf. Then we have Abby Jimenez. So we have both Yours Truly and Just for the Summer. Both are books that like I really want to get to really soon, and I want to read them in order. That's why I read Part of Your World first, especially because she just came out with a new book, I believe. So I'm gonna hope to get through these soon. Then we have some more romance. We have Summer Romance by Annabelle Monaghan. This one I purely picked up because Destiny Sidwell really loved this when she read it, and it was a 5-star for her, and I feel like I needed a 5-star at that moment and it sounded good, so I decided to pick it up. I feel like a romance is always something I can pick up. It's a good palate cleanser. We're going into the warmer months, so it'll be good to read this. Then we have a novel love story by Ashley Poston. This one, The 7-Year Slip, was one of my 5-star reads of last year, the only 5-star read, and I think I've just been super hesitant about picking this up because I've heard so many mixed reviews about this, but I definitely need to get to this one, especially because she's coming out with a new book, I think in like a month or two, so definitely need to prioritize this. But yes, I do have another Ashley Poston on my TBR. Then I have one of my most recent books that I got myself for my birthday, and that is The Love Hypothesis by Ali Hazelwood. I've never read an Ali Hazelwood book, but of course I've heard so many good things about her books. Like, I guess I've heard mixed reviews, but a lot of people really love her books, and her books are always super hyped, especially like the ones that have been coming out. Yeah, I decided what a great time to get into my Ali Hazelwood journey, and I feel like, again, super like, I feel like this would be a super quick like romance book palette cleanser, especially because a lot of my books I feel like are fantasy romance these days, so I think this would be a really good pick for like a break from that. Then we have another book outlet sale book, and that is Belladonna by Adeline Grace. This one is a YA fantasy, and I've heard a lot about it. I don't know too much. I think it's about this girl with the curse, maybe something about death. I don't know, it sounded interesting when I picked it up, and I've heard a lot about it, so that's why. And it was cheap for sale like on Book Outlet, so that's why I ended up getting this one. And then the last book on this shelf right here is Rebel Witch by Kristen Citrelli. This is also one of my more recent buys because this one just came out like a couple months ago, and I still need to pick it up. I've heard so many good things about it. I'm really excited for this one. I've heard so many people say that this one is better than Heartless Hunter, and I really love like Heartless Hunter, so it like I better have like a good experience with this because I've been like having a miss with a lot of hyped books recently. We're already at 21 books total for my physical TBR. Not great because mine, like when I had 20 books a few years ago, I'd literally be like crying, throwing up, like so many books on my physical TBR, but now I feel like nothing even like phases me anymore with this. Like there was a point where I felt a little bit overwhelmed with how many books I had, but now it's at the point where I'm like beyond that, and I just like keep buying books. Now we're at the very bottom shelf. These are all like miscellaneous fiction books and some fantasy romance, but the first one is The Stolen Heir by Holly Black. This is a continuation of like the Cruel Prince trilogy and like a spin-off series. It's a YA fantasy. I really love the Cruel Prince trilogy. It's one of my favorite YA like fantasy trilogies, but this one just like it wasn't super hyped for me. I picked it up because obviously I read the other books and I wanted to read it, but it's not something that I ever really think about, so I don't know when I'm gonna get to this one. Then we have Four Winds by Kristen Hanna. This one is in the Great Depression, which I haven't read any books like focused on perspectives of people from that, so I think it'll be really interesting. Then we have one of my more recent buys that I just got myself for my birthday, part of my birthday book haul for myself, but that is The Lion Women of Tehran by Marjan Kamali. This one I got because Books and Lala read it and she really enjoyed it, and I think she gave it 5 stars, and the premise sounded interesting, and I feel like I'm trying to broaden my horizons a little bit with reading perspectives of like other people around the world and other parts of history. Not saying there's anything wrong with reading like fantasy romance or romance. I'm just trying to personally read other perspectives as well. I feel like Kristen Hanna is really good at writing those types of perspectives of like times in history that we don't really talk about, and this one I just heard a lot about, so I'm excited about this one. This one I'm actually reading in my next video, but that is When the Moon Hatched by Sarah A. Parker. This is a fantasy romance book that took the world by storm last year, and I just heard so many good things about it. It was on a lot of people's favorites list, and I've just wanted to read it since then, and I decided to finally pick it up. But yeah, I'm really excited. Again, I'm also nervous because hyped books are a hit or miss for me, but I have really high hopes for this one. Then we have Firefly Lane by Kristen Hanna. This one I'm really excited for. It follows 4, maybe a few childhood friends, and it follows their stories as they grow up. This is also a cover that I don't love. There's another cover with like fireflies in it that like I really enjoy, but this one was, I think, a half-price book, so I think that's why I got it. And I have Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow by Gabrielle Zevin. This one I've heard so much about. It's another book that people really enjoy and have given like really high ratings, and it follows two like game developers, which sounds interesting. And I don't know, I've just heard a lot about it. I got it like probably a year ago, so it's been a while, but it's just been sitting. Hope to get to it soon, I guess. Then I have one of Cassandra Clare's Kickstarter books that she did, and that is The Secrets of Blackthorn Hall by Cassandra Clare. This one is like letters that some characters wrote to other characters, I think. It's really pretty. They have these really pretty end pages and also colored photos like within the book. This one you can only get, I believe, if you backed her Kickstarter, and she was doing like 4 exclusive books on there. Obviously, being a Cassie Clare fan, I needed all exclusive books, so that's why I have this book. I don't know if these are ever going to be traditionally published, but as of right now, I think they're only through the Kickstarter. Then we have Where the Crawdads Sing by Delia Owens. Super popular book. I believe there was either a movie or a TV show on this book. So yeah, just a lot of hype for it. I've heard a lot about it, and I never really knew what this was about. I think it's about a murder. Don't know too much. It was pretty cheap at Value Village. It was only $5. And they were having like a buy 4 get 1 free, so I was just trying to find books that I've heard of, honestly, and that's why I decided to pick this one up. The next couple books are also through Value Village, but this one is Masters of Death by Olivia Blake. She is the author of Atlas 6 and that series, which I've heard a lot about. I haven't really felt called to particularly pick it up because the Goodreads rating isn't super high, but the premise of this also like always sounded really interesting because it follows this girl named Viola, and she is a real estate agent and a vampire, and I think she's trying to sell a house that is like ghost infested. I don't know, it sounded really fun, and I always like saw the premise and always wanted to get it, and I found it for cheap, so that's why I decided to get it. Also from Value Village, like I said, I have Dune by Frank Herbert. I had watched the movie and I wanted to read the book to see how it compared, and I've just heard a lot about it in general. I really liked the movies, and I want to read this before Dune Messiah comes out. I want to say it comes out next year or maybe the year after, I don't know. Then I have Shadow of the Wind by Carlos Ruiz Zafón. I've heard so much about this, and I think it's about this man trying to find a book. I don't know, I've heard a lot about this over the years. This one I've been hearing about since the beginning of when I literally started watching booktube back in like 2015, I want to say. And then the very last book, which is one of the books I got for my birthday book haul, but that is Heavenly Bodies by Imani Iru. This is a fantasy romance that I've heard a lot about. Also, the cover of this is absolutely stunning. That's one of the things that has been drawing me to this book. And I think it's like celestial inspired fantasy, has to do with like stars and prophecies and fates. And it sounds like a good time, and I really hope I enjoy it. But even if I don't, honestly, I might just keep it for the cover. And then the last 4 books that I got most recently, my most recent purchase, was from Barnes & Noble and Target, but that is Binding and Keeping 13, Blood Over Bright Haven, and Lessons in Chemistry. All of this together, I have 38 books, which is a little bit freaky, and I need to prioritize my physical TBR. I'm gonna be honest, that's a little bit more than I thought. Actually, I thought it'd be more around the lower 30s range and not the higher 30s range. But I guess that's literally why I did this video, because now I know, and now I'm not living in delusion. I've never had this many books that are like sitting unread on my shelf, and I think it's also because I got Kindle Unlimited last year, and so since I've gotten that, like so much of my reading has been on Kindle, because so many of the books that have been hyped, like hyped fantasy romance books, have been on Kindle Unlimited. It just gives me more motivation to get through these, because I don't want 40 books on my physical TBR. back on. That is it for this video. Let me know down below what is your number of books that is on your physical TBR. Maybe it's more than me, maybe it's less than me, but that is it for this video. I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you next time. Bye.